Hey, what's up guys? Pat Burke here, and I'm going to do a quick video on protein, supplements. So we have Nutriforce supplements down at our store, and we have protein down there. But one of the questions in regards to protein is how much, why, when, and how to use it, I guess. So I want to do a video on that. And so I put everything up on a board, and hopefully I'm going to answer some questions. Maybe you'll have some questions. If you have questions at the end, you can reach me at Patrick@NBS CrossFit, and I'd be happy to help you out. But I guess what I'm starting here with is goals. So most people that come in the gym, they have these different categories of goals. We can kind of spread out and have hundreds of goals, but we can narrow them down as well into a couple of these categories. So I have lose weight, which equals lose fat and gain muscle. I don't think anybody really wants to lose muscle. So, and actually whenever I hear somebody tell me that they want to lose weight, usually it's a body composition change. They want to look shredded or something like that. So really when I hear lose weight, I hear lose fat and gain muscle, because muscle is going to help us out in losing fat. So that might be one goal, or another goal might be get stronger. So we hear that quite a bit. You guys lift weights? Oh, I want to come join you in lifting weights and get stronger. And so that is also got gain muscle. And then lastly, get huge. Very rarely or randomly we'll hear somebody wanting to get real big and come to CrossFit. And that's gain muscle and gain fat. So, and this get stronger, it could be run stronger, run longer, be stronger on the bike, be stronger on the climb, something like that, be stronger at my sport. But regardless, like, it's ultimately, we're going to have to be focused on gaining muscle. And again, if you want to lose fat, having more muscle is going to help us out in losing fat. So that's kind of number one, is identifying your goals and what you want to do. And then just kind of understand that most goals do have gain muscle in them. So then number two here is we need to understand that muscle requires protein. So in order to grow muscle, we need protein. It's got to be adequate in our diet so that we can have the muscle growth. So these are very random, no, they're not completely random, figures that I've come to experience in myself and I've seen in performance of others. So we kind of have a minimum number of protein, which would be less than or equal to 0.5 grams per pound of lean body mass. An average number would be about 0.75, and then I wrote gains, or you're wanting to gain, very actively gain muscle, could be 1 or more grams per pound of lean body mass. So I'm not going to get into like the lean body mass and how to come up with all those figures. It's really not that hard. But over here in number 3, I use myself as an example. So I weigh about 187, 190 pounds, and I have a very low body fat, so somewhere around 5%. And I just made some round numbers here. So my protein target being, I want to gain, I want to kind of be actively gaining, I always want to err on the side of gaining versus losing. So I want to gain, and that's going to put me at about a gram of protein per pound of lean body mass. So my lean body mass would be around that 180 mark. Again, I just made them round numbers. So I can, through using a very somewhat generic 40-30-30, meaning 40% of my calories come from carbohydrates, 30 from protein, and 30 from fat, I can come up with these figures and get some targets. So I have protein, my target would be 180 grams a day, carbs 240 grams, and then fat 80 grams a day. These numbers can be mixed and matched according to goals and personalities and whatnot, but in my experience, these are pretty accurate for myself. So the way I go from here is I'm just going to look at one thing versus looking at all 3 of these and carrying a spreadsheet around, is I look at protein, because I feel that protein is pretty easy to measure. So for example, this is a typical day. Breakfast, 30 to 40 grams, snack, 20 to 30 grams, lunch 30 to 40, and dinner 30 to 40, and then another snack of 20 to 30 grams. So I wrote the spectrum there, kind of a low and a high number, kind of being one, the low would be somewhat skimpy, and then the higher number would be, it was sufficient. So we end up with a daily total of 130 to 180 grams. And in my personal experience, so this is 5 meals or feeding times a day, that is actually a little bit more on the rare side unless I'm very actively putting into it. For the most part, I'm eating 3 to 4 meals a day, depending on how busy I am. So this 180 grams is actually pretty difficult to get to for most people. So which brings us up kind of into this next point here. We have that 180 target, and we have a calorie target. So actually what this is a pie chart representing the 2,400 calories that I'm going to try and get in a day, with including the 180 grams of protein, 240 of carbohydrates, and 80 grams of fat. So this is just all of the food that goes in my mouth. That's the daily target, this whole circle. Now, here's where I'm just going to toss out an opinion. I'm sure everybody's heard of the 80-20 rule. For most people, doing the 80-20 rule is going to be perfectly sufficient for reaching all of their goals. So what I'm saying is, on your daily goal, 80%, you hit 80% of the target eating real food. That's what you want to do. So real food, meaning stuff that expires or goes rotten. Carbs are veggies and fruits. Protein is meat, also some vegetable sources. Fat is from meat and nuts. So 80% of that target you're getting through real food, and the 20% can be had through processed and supplements. So it's kind of what I'm getting into. The reason we want the real food is to get the nutrients and the antioxidants and just all the stuff that we wouldn't get, and it's processed better in the body. It's just better for us to get the majority of our food that way. So this is kind of like my made-up figure. It could be 90-10, depending on how strict and what your goals are and where you're at and stuff. This can definitely be modified. But another cool thing about 80-20 is just the fact that getting that to 80-20 is not that hard. Like, it's not that unrealistic. It can be done. 90% or 95 or being 100% strict all the time, however, is really difficult for anybody. Very few individuals have I met that can adhere to a perfectly paleo, perfectly clean food diet all the time. So 80-20 is just a lot better way to go about it. We're going to use that in a second. So again, kind of going back to this, that 180 being really difficult to get to, nearly unrealistic, we can use protein to help us reach our goals. Use a protein supplement. And so, just a few things like about protein. Whey is going to be our best option of protein for most people. Whey is derived from milk. It's high in BCAAs, branched chain amino acids, which is good for recovery and muscle growth. So protein is very convenient. It can go in your shaker bottle. The cost on it is actually pretty low. So this right here for Nutriforce, it's $1.69 a serving. So a lot of proteins can go for much more. You can pay $2.50, $3 a serving. So for 23 grams, you pay $1.69. So for a couple examples, like if you bought beef jerky and got 23 grams of protein, it might cost you $3 or $4. Or a protein bar that has 23 grams of protein, it might cost $3 or $4. So this is about half of that. So the cost is pretty low. And then, so it's convenient, and when you can drink this protein, which allows it to be absorbed into the body much faster, which allows for faster recovery. So you want to have that protein shake right after workouts. So that's why we do protein, to help kind of fill in this gap and allow us to hit our target. The last thing here I want to point out is just kind of this other random stuff. There's a lot of, you got to understand that supplements, they're $1 billion business, and there's a lot of different companies out there trying to make their way into the market, and so they come up with a lot of different names and a lot of different ways to sell it. So you hear grass-fed, you hear isolate, you hear micronutrient, just all these like random kind of made-up words. So first, most of this stuff is not based on facts. So they just sell it on the name, on the new name. It's the new thing, so that's how they sell it, and it has no fact. There's no fact to it. I've never seen a study, to my knowledge, that that grass-fed is going to be better than non-grass-fed. They say that the omega-6 to omega-3 ratio is different, and I haven't ever seen anything on that. I've never seen any of this other stuff. A lot of times these isolate things where they say it's more broken down into smaller particles and stuff. How you can know if the protein is good or bad is if your gut absorbs it. So if you're getting farts immediately after having protein, your gut's probably not absorbing it. So that'd be something to watch out for. But personally, I've never experienced any problems having whey protein, but I have on other proteins. So, and actually whey protein is very tolerable to most people. So that's basically it, guys. We take protein to help us reach our goals of gaining muscle. It just helps out. And when done in a smaller amount, it's really not that big of a deal, as long as we're eating mostly real food. And whey protein is probably the best bang for the buck in terms of protein, and we sell it in our store. So, all right. If you have any questions, email patrick@mbscrossfit.com.